Let's move on now to the Los Angeles Rams and our 2023 NFL Draft review. But before we do that, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also ring that bell to get notified when new Los Angeles Rams content gets released. Right now, we have a goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers by the beginning of the season, which means we are creating a lot more content that involves the Los Angeles Rams and just general NFL material as well. So be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, so you can see when new content is released. And Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Just want to start out. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams for winning the 2021-2022 Super Bowl, and because you did not have a first-round pick. But once again, congratulations. I had to throw a little bit of salt as a Falcons fan because, well, we all know. So that being said, though, I would start out with that joke. Initially, I was like kind of just expecting to give the Rams a poor grade. But I actually like their draft. They had a lot of picks. They had 3 picks on day 2, and then they had a lot of 5th-round picks that I think they actually got a lot of decent value on.
No, and I actually like their picks.
Yeah, in general, I was actually pleasantly surprised considering that they didn't have a first-round pick. But, I mean, let's just get it kicked off. I like Steve Avila. I thought Steve Avila could have potentially gone in the first round. He was, I think, the highest pure interior offensive lineman taken in the draft, right? Like I say that Skoronski's gonna kick into guard, but he was a offensive guard coming in, and I really like that fit for the Rams because we just did the Cardinals video, so be sure to go check that out after this. But if you're a team like the Rams, and if the season that the Rams had, like you need to beef up that offensive line, protect Matt Stafford. I think even he was hurt, but he missed most of the second half of the season. But I think he was still one of the most hit quarterbacks throughout the season, like total.
Yeah,
and that was even like he didn't even play
the second half of the year.
So which I think
he still was.
Yeah, it just shows how much Andrew Whitworth like was important to that team, and then some of the other offensive linemen that moved on. But I think that it is going to be crucial for them to keep kind of this rebuilding of the offensive line and also the defensive line as well, because we know Aaron Donald, he is coming closer to the end of his career. Like he still is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. But in general, though, let's move on now to the next pick. Byron Young, defensive end out of Tennessee. Once again, the same kind of thing, just on the defensive line as well.
Yeah, no, they definitely needed some pass rush help outside of Aaron Donald, and I think that's really good value. That was right where he was supposed to go. I think he went 7 picks after the one from Alabama, the Byron Young from Alabama. So that was right where both of these guys were projected to go. But I really like what they got here, and then it continues down with Kobe Turner, the defensive tackle from Wake Forest. I think that was a really solid pick there. He had a lot of hype coming into this class as a day one difference maker. And I really like what he brings to the table as well. He has really good length, really good power, and he can contribute on all 3 downs.
Well, and he's a little bit smaller too, so I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of versatility options as well. Like because he says defensive tackle, but maybe defensive end, and like if they have like a 3-4 type line set, and
he's a 3-gapper or a 3 technique.
Yeah. So because then you have Byron Young, defensive end, but he's a modern day edge rusher type ordeal. And so let's move on now. What are your thoughts on the Stetson Bennett pick?
I don't really like it. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because at one point, on one side of the argument, the kid is a winner, right? I say kid, he's like 26, but he's a winner. He knows how to come in and win under pressure. But Georgia's offense was really simple. It was not that complex, and it was mostly run through the running game.
Yeah.
And his contribution to it was mostly getting them in the right play, and then either being athletic enough to make a play at the college level or handing the ball off to the running back. Like that was his big contribution. And so I think he got a lot of unnecessary credit. It's one of those situations the quarterback gets too much blame sometimes, but I think he got a little too much credit on this one.
Well, it definitely seemed like those mid 2000s, early 2010s Alabama when you have like the Greg McElroys that are coming out of Alabama, and you're like, oh, like this quarterback's got potential, and you're like, oh no, he was just playing on an NFL caliber team
with a Heisman Trophy running back and whatnot.
Well, and it's interesting. I'm very curious about this. That my one thing for Stetson Bennett is we're saying this now, and literally everybody has said exactly what we're saying about Stetson Bennett throughout his entire amateur career coming out of high school. And like they said he would never walk on at UGA, and he walked on at UGA. UGA said, hey, you're not going to start. We're not going to give you a scholarship. So then he left. Like, I'll prove you wrong. Went to JUCO, dominated, got that scholarship. Oh, like, we'll give you a scholarship because you're trying hard, but like you're never going to play. And then when there was an opportunity to play between him and JT Daniels, like, hey, you're not going to start, you're not going to win. Then he won, then he kept winning. Now he's 2 national championships later. So it's like,
only lost 1 game as a starter in college.
Yeah. And so that he's been through it all. Like if there's anyone to prove all of us wrong, that's like of this quarterback class, like Stetson Bennett is the guy. And I will say one thing, like watched him a decent bit, and we all did because like Georgia was on seemed like every primetime game. And when I saw him play in person, there was only one time I noticed when he seemed like nervous in the pocket, and then he actually threw an interception in that Ohio State Georgia game. It's that one pick that he had. But other than that, though, I thought he had a lot of poise. And shoot, if you're going to be QB in the NFL, you got to be able to stick in the pocket and keep your eyes downfield and improvise, especially nowadays in today's modern NFL. So I think he can do that. I'll personally say, like, I don't think he has the stuff, but they've been saying that about him his entire career. So I think it'll be interesting having him behind Matt Stafford, also former Georgia quarterback. But we talked about him a lot longer than expected. Let's move on, though, now to all the 5th-round picks that the Rams had. And to be honest,
they had a fantastic 5th round.
Yeah.
Really solid 5th round.
Nick Hampton, like the outside linebacker pick. I think talking about these, what division? The Sun Belt schools. That's Sun Belt, right? With Southern and Appalachian State. I think they're underrated. I think there are some good players that come out of there. Warren McClendon, another Georgia boy as well, offensive tackle. Kind of went underrated.
That's what I was going to say. I think he's a little underrated. He played really well against top SEC competition. And the last 2 picks I really liked. Davis Allen, the tight end from it's Clemson. It says Georgia, but tight end from Clemson. Really solid 2-way tight end, right? He can block really well. He can receive pretty well. And one of my favorite guys in this class that like the under the radar guys was actually Puka Nacua, the wide receiver from BYU. He played a game against Georgia Southern, my alma mater, and absolutely dominated. He was super hard to tackle. He's 6'2", 200. But the way he just moves, it's not fast. It's not flashy. He just separates. And he's one of those guys that he just separates really well. And I like him as a developmental prospect. I think he could potentially be a starter for them one day.
Oh, well, honestly, I mean, like here, let's look at their let's quickly just take a look at their depth chart right now. I don't see why he can't be a starter right now. Allen Robinson's not there. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is a sure thing. Outside of that, like here, let me pull it up real quick. You got Cooper Kupp. I mean, you have Van Jefferson, but I'm sorry, I'm just not convinced with Van Jefferson.
Well, he's already hit his ceiling.
So then you have Ben Squirrel Neck. Did I pronounce that correctly?
I have no. Yeah, Skronek.
Oh, but who performed decently when Cooper Kupp wasn't there, and like there was very few other options. So there is a real possibility that Puka Nacua can come in and start taking like day 1 reps. Tutu Atwell, but he's more of a slot receiver, and he's totally, I would say, different type of receiver as well. So I don't even think that they're up for competition. I mean, it is like he can absolutely be starting for the Rams come day 1. And I think going with what you said with Davis Allen as well from Clemson, both of those guys, I think, I mean, Tyler Higbee's their number 1 right now, but and I did trade for Hunter Long, but I think there's some developmental upside as well to go along with that.
Yeah.
That I could see this when
He's their
next
blocking
year.
tight end next year. Yeah.
Who Davis Allen?
Davis Allen. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. And just getting those reps. And another guy, I'll skip a couple picks, and if you want to go on to the next page though.
Yeah.
But Zach Evans from Ole Miss, I really like that pick as well. He was at TCU, played great, moved over to Ole Miss, played well. And Cam Akers is the only guy in front of him, but similar, I think, to Van Jefferson. And unfortunately, it's from his Achilles injury.
Yeah, torn Achilles.
I think he's also kind of reached a ceiling as well. And so Zach Evans, I mean, I think he jumps Kyron Williams personally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe they can compete it for number 2, but there's also a real possibility that he gets a lot of snaps as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really like that pick as well. I'm going to go back a couple picks and go to Trey Hodges-Tomlinson. I love that pick. So they just got rid of Jalen Ramsey. Trey Hodges-Tomlinson's not going to replace Jalen Ramsey. Let's not be ridiculous. But he did win the award for the best cornerback in college football last season.
Mm-hmm.
And I love him in the nickel for them. He's super fast, super athletic. I want to say he had like a 42 or 43 inch vertical. And he has the skill set to really be competitive with these smaller, shiftier wide receivers. Or the Tyler Lockett's, Rondale Moores of the world, who they're going to be facing a lot. So I really like that pick there. And they had a really, really solid draft. Ethan Evans, the punter from Wingate, was at the Shrine Bowl, and some people had him as the top punter in the class. But the last pick, Deshaun Johnson, the edge from Toledo, I also really like. He's a little bit closer to Kobe Turner than Byron Young in terms of size, but just another versatile edge guy that I think could come in and really, really contribute for them. So,
yeah. So in general, I mean, they had a lot of good picks that I liked. I mean, that you can honestly talk a lot about. So I was like, let's quickly move on to our grades. And so for me, they had a lot of picks. They had a lot of good picks. Not having a first round pick definitely affected that grade for me. But in general, though, considering the situation, I gave them a B. And I think that's pretty good considering where they were at, not having a first round pick and getting some decent starters. And honestly, and me even saying that now, I could see that even being like a B plus. It might be a B to B plus range, and because they did surprise me, especially after reviewing how good value they got, how much value that they got with their picks.
No, yeah, I really like what they did. I gave them an A minus, which is very rare that I have a grade higher than you, as I've been a lot stingier in this draft class. But I think you look at it, Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and Warren McClendon will probably all play significant roles for them, if not start. I think, and then I see clear roles for Davis Allen, Puka Nacua, Trey Hodges-Tomlinson, and Zach Evans. And even if they're part-time contributors, getting those guys in the 5th round, 4th, 5th, and then 6th round actually with Zach Evans, I just think that's fantastic value there. And that's not something that I think you see a lot in draft classes. The one thing that this, if you were going to pick a draft not to have a first-round pick in, I think this was the class to do it. Because this, of all the years we've done this, I think this has been by far the weakest class overall.
Well,
last year,
I guess it depends. I guess it depends because if you look at it, where they would have ended up picking, but you also make an argument that they wouldn't have been picking there at 6 overall. Like Jalen Carter was sitting there, Devin Witherspoon was sitting there. Well, no, he was not sitting there. Sorry, Gonzalez. There was a potential quarterback that was there if you wanted to groom him behind. Matt Stafford, the other offensive lineman to help rebulk that offensive line that you ended up doing that with Steve Avila. Like you could have gotten Paris Johnson Jr., who was taken there overall. You could have gotten Bijan Robinson, but that would have been too early for a running back. Says the Falcons fan.
No, I just think if you're going to pick a class not to have a first round pick, I think this was a good one to do. To do that with. And then the gap, I think from 20 to 100 in terms of prospects was pretty marginal, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, like the 35th prospect is going to be better than the 100th prospect, right? But in most classes, that's a pretty big drop off. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
like in this class, it's like that was the sweet spot, was like those 80 picks right there, and they had three of those, and then I think they got really good value on day three, and will definitely be bringing in some guys that'll contribute to them.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree. I
so
agree.
yeah. But let's go ahead and wrap up the Los Angeles Rams draft recap there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Los Angeles Rams draft. Who was your favorite pick? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.